Hi, welcome to this episode of Post ITC Reflection. And today we have the brainchild behind ITC Vegas. Nicole, how are you today?
Oh, I'm great, Jeff. I'm still exhausted, but I'm really great, and I'm gonna humbly state, brainchild of this year's incarnation in collaboration with an outstanding team.
Nice. So, first of all, your other half, Bill Harris, not here. I
Mhm,
had him pre-ITC Vegas launch. We did an episode together, and Bill brings so much energy. And
mhm.
I was really hoping to catch you on that episode as well, but we got to shoot our own episode one day, on Industry Voice to talk about not just this event, right, but just all things that you are doing in the industry of insurance events, marketing, media, and that episode will be dedicated to just Nicole and not post ITC.
I look forward to it.
So, okay, now we're back on. And we were talking about recovering from ITC. So let's tell the audience, how long did it take you to recover from ITC?
So we are 2 weeks post ITC having this discussion, and I'm still not fully recovered. Um, I think I was able to get multiple sentences strung together maybe 3 days ago. It took me easily 10 days. I don't know if I don't wanna say it's my age, but it may in fact now be my age that the 4 o'clock wake ups, which is ultimately when I am up and at 'em, because in addition to leading the team in Vegas, I still am a mom and want to ensure that my child is on the subway at the time he needs to be on the subway. Of course, there's nothing I could really do about it when I'm that far away, but I still wear that mom hat and get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, ensure that he does what he needs to do, and then kick into gear and probably don't get back to my room until almost 10, 11 o'clock every single evening. So, like many, I'm run down by the time it's all said
Yeah.
and done. What about you, Jeff?
There were some folks that took longer to recover, and I was fine. I just really took the one day after ITC to shut down, like really shut down. And most people don't know I don't shut down, especially on my cell phone. I'm texting people all the time, but I took one day to really take the time to shut down. But it was this year is different. This year was different, and it was my favorite year so far, all the years attending ITC. We'll go into it. I'll give you a little bit of my feedbacks. And
Love to hear it.
you are the seventh guest or sixth guest I am recording for post ITC Reflections.
Okay.
So I'll feed you some of that as well. But just kind of want to lead the audience to this event. Team ITC Vegas, what does preparation look like before the event happens? How many months before you got started to do the planning? And how big is your team?
That's a really great question, and I always get nervous answering the numbers, because it really depends on time of year and who's dedicated to product. So I started with the brand in September of 2023, so only 6 weeks before the event last year. So I came into the event, I was able to not really put, I'd say, my mark on it or, have direct input in our delivery last year, really had to and got to encourage the team and watch the delivery in 2023. So I'd say that I started working on 2024 the day I started in September of 2023. So 13 months in the making. The team recovers or comes back from the event, but we have been in active mode. Most of the team took off the following kind of Friday, Monday, Tuesday. And then we have been in active mode, connecting with our sponsors, our speakers, many of our delegates to receive feedback and to speak with them. We go into strategy for the following year, typically a month or two before this year's event. We went into 2025 strategy. And a lot of it depended on or depends on that current year delivery to see, did the ideas that we brought to the table this year, did they resonate? Did they hit? Did we have success on some of the new areas and or focus that we wanted to? And the great news this year for us is that so much of what we set forth in our strategy to be different this year delivered and hit really hard and well. And the feedback that we have received has been overwhelmingly positive and exceptionally enthusiastic. Now, there's always room for improvement. There are always exhibitors or sponsors that ended up with, unfortunately, missing equipment or missing booths and challenges on delivery, or a session that could have been better attended and perhaps wasn't. That is always what is going to happen, and it's unfortunate, but you can't have an event of this size and expect it to be at 100% perfect. But this is an event that, in the entirety, Jeff, of my career, and I've been producing events for almost 30 years, I've never seen or heard the feedback be as overwhelmingly positive as it has been for this event. So I toss it to you. I always get nervous. Like, you ask me, like, what we're hearing and what type of work gets put in. And I'm in a giddy, excited post-event high still from this event. Yet we're also looking at 2025, putting the strategy in place, and we're well underway for the planning for next year already.
You guys do in-person planning or Zoom planning?
Both. So I think the team, it's interesting, the ITC team, and you had asked me the question of how many are we? There's about 8 or 9 people that are dedicated to the ITC Vegas team. A few of them also serve in multiple capacities, assisting with some of our global events. And most of the team in support roles on our operations and our customer success team, they serve multiple events within Clarion itself. So this is a lean and mean team on the core, but the periphery are my weekly team meetings have anywhere between 22 and 28 people that attend on a weekly basis. And we brought out 45, I believe, to the event to help execute on site. But core team is really only 8 or 9 people.
Take a moment to shout out to your team. I got a chance to interview 6, 7 people. I have probably close to 20 hours of recorded content that we're going to drop of exhibitors and attendees. Number one thing feedback is you guys have the most friendly team. Like, everyone says super helpful. So many people have like little random things happen, like, especially all the exhibitor I'm talking to. And I don't remember one complaint.
Jeff, it makes me so happy to hear that. A strategic point for us as a brand is white glove service on delivery and customer service. Whether that is less than 24-hour turnaround on emails that are sent into the team, sort of our MSA that we've held, to how we handled our problems on site. And we often say, you cannot have an event with 9,000 plus people, 700 plus sponsors and exhibitors, and not have problems. That's a guarantee. But how you handle those problems is what is going to define you as a great team and as a great group. And we knew that going in, and that was the guidance going in, which is remain calm, carry on, listen, validate, and solve. And the team knows that they're empowered to solve problems to the best they can. And if they can't solve, they escalate where necessary. So much of this really is unbelievable team that works on this event, and their passion and commitment to our customers. It's so amazing that that's the first thing you said to me about what stood out to you about the event. I'm really proud of that.
I have to ask, and I'll tell my story real quick. Monday, flew in, went downstairs to go get a ticket. I checked in at the wrong booth. They're like, we don't have you. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, so I'm using my name, I'm using my company name, I'm giving my email, giving my phone number, and they're like, oh, are you supposed to check in the ITC? I was like, this is insurance. Like, they're like, no, this is I think it was a national comp.
Work with national.
Did you guys expect that to have like another insurance event happening across the hall within walking distance, 50 feet from you guys?
Yes. So we were very aware that they were present, and we worked closely with them in the lead up to do our very best to ensure that their delegates and their sponsors knew where they were going. We did our very best to try to brand and or make it clear with our human directionals. So if you came Monday, you wouldn't have seen the human directionals.
Yeah.
Got put into position on Tuesday to help. I do believe that quite a bit of that other events team spent a lot of time saying, ITC's that way, go to the end and up the escalator, or go upstairs, go upstairs. They had to learn our business, especially because that's where we had been situated last year. So it's interesting. We did our very best, we thought, to communicate in advance, to say to people, registration is on the second floor, but nobody reads. So, nobody reads. And we did fine, but and I also credit quite a bit to, I don't know if you noticed, but we took on a ton more on digital signage around the event.
Mhm. I
You know,
noticed it.
my background, the nebula, the ITC nebula, we really wanted that to be the breadcrumb, so that if you saw that, you knew where to go. So it was a strong visual to sort of guide you. But yeah, we did know that that was going to happen, and we did the very, very best we could with the circumstances.
So 3 new segment this year: broker agents, one
Mhm.
new segment, LATAM, and life health benefits. Can you go into a little bit on all three? What's the results?
ITC LATAM was technically not brand new to the event this year. We did launch a LATAM event in Miami in 2023, and then rolled it into Vegas in the latter half of 23, and made the strategic decision to keep that within our Vegas event moving forward, as opposed to having a second event in Miami. So this was the first year that I felt we really delivered on that promise to the region, and our partners in the region did an outstanding job with us. Our advisory board did an amazing job, and we changed up the format. So on Tuesday, there was a full program that was conducted in Spanish, it was in Portuguese, there was translation, there was English. That room, quite honestly, had some of the best energy on Tuesday, bar none. It was absolutely outstanding. There was a separate kickoff welcome party on Tuesday night that went way over budget, truth be told, because so many people turned up for that particular event. That event was absolutely incredible. And that section or neighborhood on the show floor, I loved how we delivered that. I loved how our sponsors really stepped up and how they brought their very best. Those meetups were hopping. The Sunlight Solutions penalty shot challenge was absolutely wild. Charles Taylor had a big presence within the space. Lazarus sponsored the town square. We had startups within town square. All of those sort of exhibitors and sponsors surrounding it were vested in the region. Huge success, huge success. And we have heard from various people, whether it's Chile or from our partners in Brazil, Mexico. They are thrilled and can't wait to continue to grow that event next year with us. So did you were you a part of LATAM? Like, I have to ask these questions back to you, because this is how we get intel as well.
I did. I was part of it, and you know what? I'm gonna be sneaky and hold my thoughts until you
Okay.
finish answering the other two, and
Okay.
then I'll give you my feedback. I will
All
give
right.
it.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
coming. So,
Okay, so our second sort of new neighborhood this year would have been our life and annuity and group benefit neighborhood. We executed that both with a dedicated town square on the show floor that had meetups taking place, a whole bunch of fun challenges, activations, startups specific to that space, sponsors that wanted to be there, and then our L&A and group benefits stage. So we added a second stage. That stage, by and large, was standing room only for almost every single presentation that was there. Again, exceptionally well attended. Our advisory board that we put together for L&A knocked it out of the park. Put together some really good content for it, and the energy coming out of that area was really great. And that's an example too, where ITC has always had these sponsors, but you didn't know they were there necessarily. They were hidden among the larger event. And that was, I say, if we were to go back to what was the strategic objectives of this year and what were we trying to accomplish, it was, we want this to be the largest insurance innovation in the world and to continue to grow and make it a huge ecosystem play. And what we needed to do is in the effort and in the process of getting larger, ensure that we made it smaller for people at the event as well. And make sure that we crafted neighborhoods, badge ribbons, right? We did ribbons. That's as old school a trade show hack as you could possibly
Who came up with that idea?
me.
That was fantastic. Literally, like, you guys got so much online content of people posting about their name tag and their ribbons because everyone want to show off their ITC OG ribbon, right?
Correct.
Like
Correct.
those
And Josh,
ribbons.
Josh Grossman and Bill Harris walked around with OG ribbons in their pockets the whole time and were able to distribute them to people on site. And that's a whole interesting conversation in and of itself, which we could talk about a different time. But okay, so that's neighborhood number 2. And neighborhood number 3 was ITC Brokers. And we did that in partnership with BrokerTech Ventures, a longstanding partner. And again, full day of content on Tuesday, and then a dedicated area or neighborhood with a town square, incredible meetups that took place. The couple of meetups I walked by in town square and Brokers, again, where there could have been 60, 70 people there. These were not 400 people standing around. It was 50 people, 40 people, 60 people, but they really wanted to be there. So what we did was create super sticky content all around the show floor, and people went and they found their home. And there were individuals that never left that town square because they knew that those were the people, that was their tribe. That's who they wanted to speak with while they were at the event. So yeah, so those were, I'd say the three neighborhoods. I also talk about Innovation Alley as an entire new neighborhood. It's not new, but holy cow, was that hopping. All of our insurtechs and our innovation and demo stage. That truthfully was I think one of the most beautiful stages I've ever seen at an event. I loved that stage. And the energy that comes off that demo stage is just incredible. And the founder's house is located nearby. And it's a whole real neighborhood for the startups at the event. So, and plus the one-to-one meeting zone, that's almost another neighborhood we like to call, right? That's in the center of the universe, the very center of the hall. And then we had meeting room and meeting pod village, a whole other neighborhood kind of on the other side of the hall, which is for a totally different type of an event for those who take those rooms and pods. They're looking for a very different type of an outcome. So we facilitate that for them. Was that a really nice long answer, Jeff? Was that longer than you possibly anticipated or imagined?
So if I can get a little bit of time, I'll give some feedbacks. I love all three. And what's funny is I have like my LinkedIn community of 2021 when I started picking up LinkedIn. I wasn't on LinkedIn before that really. And then like when the broker and agent segment came out, so everybody I was running to are like people I know in my life that's on my Facebook world, but
Okay.
I don't see them at ITC. And I was like, hey, what's going on? What's up? Blah, blah, blah. Selfies, And that was really cool. And I ran into Bill Harris on day 2. And then we did a ITC live on the spot interview with him.
Nice.
And I told him this. I was like, you guys are doing fantastic. Bill, you're a hardworking dude. You literally like we get there every morning at 7:00, right? We like to, because I have a team. We had a team of 5 people covering the event, covering the
Amazing.
attendees, exhibitors. Every day I saw Bill before us. So I was like, if we're here and he's here before us, he's here prepared. He's literally walking around greeting everybody.
Yep.
I said to Bill, I was like, you guys were doing 7,000, 8,000, and if you guys hit 10,000 this year, which I think you guys did, then I
A
think
little under. We didn't quite get there.
so. I told him what I saw from LATAM brokers and life and health. I told him that 12,000, 15,000 within reach, and maybe you and I can share a little bit off camera. I can tell you like some things I saw as well, but I saw a lot of things that was like the groundbreaking thing to the next thing at this event that I did not see in the previous years.
That was what we were hoping for. That was exceptionally intentional.
So I have to ask this.
Plus ITC agents, by the way. ITC
Yeah.
agents is a whole brand new concept for us this year. They were not on the main floor. That was an entire event within an event that we launched on Tuesday and Wednesday upstairs. So unless you had an agent badge type, you actually didn't get access to that room. It was very closely guarded, that door. And for a launch event, there are some events out there that they would consider that an unbelievable, great event, just out of the, just an event. For us, it was an unbelievable pilot year one launch. And we're really grateful to all the support that we had to help us make that a year one success. The challenge there always is a year one, sometimes you get to launch based upon your name or your reputation. It's continuing in year two and year three to deliver and grow. However, again, outstanding advisory board on our agent and a really great program, really good feedback so far.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I have one suggestion.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
You guys had a creator neighborhood this year, and the creator neighborhood, you had your podcast pod, which I thought was super cool to have pod for them.
Yep.
But a couple guys I interviewed with, they liked the neighborhood, they liked the pod, but they didn't like the location. They
Mhm.
felt it was out there, like because the action is in the middle, the beer garden, the puppy park, the interviews, right?
Yep.
So I don't know if zoning can be allowed to be done next year, but we take all the creator pod of that little neighborhood, and you know how those little booths that you put them in?
Mhm.
Next year, we surround the booth where the one-on-one meetings are taking place.
It's interesting. I'm not gonna say no. I'm not gonna say yes. I'm gonna tell you that it was intentional. So again, the podcast lounge, we had 4 incredible sponsors that allowed us to do that for the first time. I loved it, right? It had the spaceship. It was really fun, it was
Yeah.
fun space. And our other content studio, which did allow for, it had a great backdrop and allowed for interviews to take place. By and large, we hear the exact opposite thing that you have said to us, which is get us a quieter zone. It's more important
Mm,
for us to have quiet for the recordings. So
yeah.
we get more requests for it to be adjacent to. That's why we actually also put one on the second level, because we have some creators that very much only want to be on the second floor and don't want the bustle and the noise.
Yeah.
Them. So that would be my counter, is that we've had
That
quite a ton of feedback to the opposite.
that makes sense. And I see where that one is.
That's an area where I would truthfully love to see some of the podcasters take sponsorship of that and own their studios. It was underwritten this year by sponsors, that were not media or not podcasts, but there's no
Right.
reason next year that we couldn't conceive a product for individual media or podcast, and then it's your branded space and it becomes your home base as opposed to a shared space. So we also know that there's appetite for that as well. And it's figuring out how to make that work as well for some of the content creators.
That's cool. I'm curious, how many creators showed up this year?
I
How
actually
many were
don't
on the
know.
media pass?
I don't actually know. So Caliber Communications is our PR firm of record and assists us with
Okay.
that. And our debrief has not happened with them yet. So,
I'm
so
curious, like how
I
many
don't know
media
the
passes you
answer.
guys give out this year?
I genuinely don't know. I do not know the
Okay.
answer to that. I think it's someplace between 60 and 90. Um,
Okay. But it
again,
has grown every year, I feel like.
well, I think that it changes every year. You have some that are, newly doing, new followers or new programming that's come to
Yeah.
market. And then you have sort of standbys, or you have, what I'd call old school media brands that continue to represent the industry and take a presence and do a really good job for us and for the industry. So it runs the gamut.
Yeah.
And then you've got some that sneak in and we review that list and they don't get in the next year, right? Like, hey,
That
you
never
fool
happens.
us once, you don't get to fool us twice.
That never happens at events.
No, never, never, never.
As you build your event, I'm
Yes.
sure you guys are super proud, whether it's you, whether it's Bill, and whether the rest of your team.
Mhm.
What events do you guys pay attention to around the country that you guys actually attend yourself to get inspirations from?
It's a really great question. I would look to events like a health, which just took place in Vegas. I think they do an
Mhm.
outstanding job with how they brand work with their community. They were just acquired by Hive. That was just announced this week. I look at a Money 2020. I look at a CES. I look
Okay.
at an
CS is huge.
yeah. I look at an event like a C2 Montreal. That's an event that has always, or for years was an event I thought that did collaboration exceptionally well. And they were put on initially by the city of Montreal, Cirque du Soleil. And it was basically a hybrid technology leadership collaboration type mashup, but I've always looked to them for inspiration on what to do, and really really great stuff. I always look for inspiration in consumer brands, and I look to my kid. I look to see what people are talking about. So that's where I pay attention. I pay attention to the best in class in many industries, to really to get ideas. And make no mistake, my hope and goal is that they're now looking at ITC and saying that's best in show. There are very very few events out there that get 90% adoption of a mobile app, have the thousands of meetings that are facilitated by our app, and get the interaction that we do at an event. I think that when this event, and years ago conceived putting that one-to-one meeting zone in the very center of the hall, that was an exceptionally intentional move for the event. You see that at events often on like in a separate room or in tables adjacent to. And at the core of InsurTech Connect, when this was conceived, it was going to be all about the connections. So I've seen many, many events model and mimic what ITC does, and how ITC handles some of these programs as well. Is that a good answer, Jeff? Good answer?
Yeah, very good
Okay.
answer.
Mhm. Yep.
I was curious where you were going to go with that one, but that was a very good answer. Okay. So now that you guys set the bar this year, what is the bar next year?
God, it's higher. We set out to accomplish a ton this year. Like I said, we had some big strategy meetings. The strategy was given to the team. I'd like to work with groups to say, this is ideally where we're getting to, and this is where we're at. It is all of your jobs to get us to where we need to be. And they did an unbelievable job rising to the occasion. So I think we established that everyone liked the theme and liked a theme, that worked.
Mhm.
So I think you can expect that there will be a theme in 2025. We will theme the event out again and have a lot of fun doing so. And this speaks to that. It was intentional, Jeff. We didn't do it just for pretty pictures. We did it because we're all humans. We're all people first, and then we are there to do business. And if we can create an environment where people smile just a little bit more, or feel that much more energized, or their business meetings should go better, right? If you approach things from my philosophy on events is, for an event to be successful, you need to achieve warmth. Because if you achieve warmth, outcomes are manifested. We set out to achieve warmth. So whether it was someone sticking their head in the origami risk astronaut photo moment, right? When people did it, Jeff, like it was constantly, there were people constantly using it. Or you saw some puppies in spacesuits in Glia or Invoice Cloud puppy parks, like you smiled just a little bit bigger because it was something different. And to see companies like a Majesco lean in and put a freaking rocket ship on the top of their booth, that's really amazing and cool. To see how many of our sponsors really leaned in and how much of our audience leaned in. And for Curtis, if he's not like the most creative person in the industry, and watching his Arlo, what was his astronaut's name? Oh, I forgot. Watching him make his journey to Vegas, and it brought us so much joy. And I said this on the main stage on day one, where I thanked everyone and said, thank you all for leaning in and having fun with us, because it's your enthusiasm. It's it's the industry. It's not about the team. It's what we can reflect back and what we can do for a community and industry. So every time somebody posted something on theme, or somebody responded with rocket ship emojis and planet emojis and stars, we loved it. We really did. It gave us that energy to get through the sleepless nights to get to where we needed to be. Because make no mistake, an event that's 9,000 plus people over 3 days plus 3 to 4 days of move-in is a massive undertaking. We pop up a city and create a wild experience. Oh, and then throw into the mix moving our party from outdoors to indoors, right? So that was a fun sort of, little twist that the team had to completely deliver on Thursday. That's a monumental task, to move a concert and a party for thousands
Yeah.
outdoors, indoors. So, the team loved doing it because we got so much back from the community.
Who's your performer next year?
Oh, we can't, if I knew, I couldn't even tell you.
Nicole, this is where
We
you
don't know
go
yet.
drop
We
the
don't know yet.
news.
We don't know yet.
Okay.
We don't know yet. Were you at the concert? Did you make it?
No, I flew out. I have two daughters that were really missing me. So,
Oh, sorry.
yeah.
Sorry, not sorry. I'm
Um,
glad that you got to get home to your family.
yeah,
It was an wildly intimate, very cool experience.
I have heard next year I'm staying. So maybe I'll get my kids to come with me to Vegas.
You probably don't want that one. They probably don't want that. I wanted
Yeah.
my son to come just so that he could hear me interview Captain Kelly on the main stage. I thought that would be an apex moment to perhaps see, but at least I did. I had crowdsourced at least a question from him to be able to
I
ask
I
him.
think next year you give him a DJI Osmo and you say, hey, you can follow me around, film me some content.
He can't miss school. That's the issue. He's like, Mom, I can't miss. He's in a competitive high school. He's got to stay put.
I think he will learn more at ITC Vegas with all the AI that's coming out this year, like that thing. I'd like to ask one more question.
Of course.
How many after party did you and Bill and your team get to attend? Because there was like, what, 56, 57 after parties?
Oh, there were so many.
How do you split up your time?
Very difficultly. We try our best to divide and conquer. I hosted a dinner on Wednesday evening, and when that dinner was done, I went right to bed. So that was it for me for Wednesday. And on Thursday, I may have ended up in a hotel suite at Mandalay Bay. And next thing I knew, it was 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning, and there's a party going on, and it was hysterical. And I felt like I was back in college and partying, and I was dragging quite a bit. So I made it to a couple on Thursday night, shockingly, given that I was exhausted. But I do credit the fact that outside of, for me, being on main stage, I wore sneakers everywhere. So I had my sneakers on this entire show, knowing that the physical toll of wearing heels of any sort or size would not work. Of course, I also almost fell on the main stage on the first day because of those heels, but that's neither here nor there. So I think the team, quite a few of us got to an event on Wednesday evening. That was a lot of fun that they went to. Tuesday, most of the team was dancing at our kickoff party. And then quite a few of them went off to some other events. It's hard, Jeff. Like, on one hand, we want to participate, but on especially Tuesday and Wednesday, our call time is so early. Most of us are at that show office before 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning and or at Reg. So it's really hard. And because everybody takes their job so seriously, they get to bed. And by 10 o'clock at night, most of the team, truthfully, is back in their rooms and sleeping. Thursday is a totally different story. And then some people did stay Friday. I did hit the spa on Friday, full disclosure.
Nice.
I did. So, and I will probably do that again in the future. That is a really good way for me to start the recovery.
After day one,
Mhm.
next morning, I woke up at 3 a.m. with a
Yep.
leg cramp. That
Oh.
was like, I have had leg cramp like that since I can remember. And I
One of
play
the Charlie
basketball
horses
like,
in your calf, one of those.
yeah, I play basketball like 3, 4 times a week. And I thought I was an active person. And from that day one, I was like, whoa.
Yeah, this is, I'm sorry to hear that. It is, we to the team, part of the coaching to the team is hydration, hydration, hydration. In our show office, we actually keep fruits, we keep bananas for this very purpose, make sure that your potassium does not drop. But it's hydration. It's no joke in Vegas, especially for
Yeah.
those of us not from Vegas. It's a tough climate, I think also.
I love some of your sponsors that had like nice craft coffee, like coffee maker, coffee machines at their booth.
Mhm.
But to the other sponsors listening, when you build a booth next year, I only saw one booth this year that had cold Gatorade, like in like a little ice bucket.
Mhm.
And I walked past by that booth. I was like, "Oh my God, you guys are awesome!" And then grab a couple of bottle Gatorade, and more booths should have some Gatorade,
It
some
it it it
electrolytes.
it is, it's hydration is no joke. We put water, this was a big year for us in that we actually, I just actually put a post on social this morning about, we eliminated almost 12,000 single-use plastic water bottles at the event this year because we tapped into, we created these filtered hydration stations at the event.
Yeah,
Now we've taken some criticism. People said they were hard to find. I agree. I do think that we could have done a hell of a lot better job of signage or arrows pointing down. So we can
is that
will
checklist for next year?
That's part of the checklist. That was part of the checklist. Absolutely was kind of looking at them and saying they look great, they're functioning, but they're kind of hard to find. Now they're on the map, they're indicated, we told people about them. So we did all that. But when push comes to shove and you try to find them on the show floor, I think we could have done a better job. But considering they were tough to find, to realize that 12,000 water bottles were eliminated, that's a huge accomplishment for us as a brand to be able to do something like that and to utilize those stations. So we can get better at it. So it's a perfect example of an area where we did something new and different, and we can improve on it for next year.
That's cool. When is your debriefing meetings with all your teams?
So that's a really great question. So we are currently out with our post-show surveys. So I'm sure listeners have been getting hit with the reminder, please fill this out, please complete this. So we keep the survey open for almost 2.5 weeks, and we do continue to see trickles because we push hard on it, because we really do use those results to help mold and shape the event for next year. So we kick off with some debrief meetings that take place next week where we start to review those survey results. We take a look at our app stats. We take a look at our reg stats. We take a look at the KPIs we put in place and figure out how did we deliver on where we set delivery at. Did we hit the carrier number we hoped for? Did we hit the VP plus number we deliver, we set forth? So that all starts next week. The team has this last week and this week to work through collecting and collating the data. We also take a look at all the photography and video that comes through. So our partners owe that to us also in the next week. So over the course of, I'd say, before Thanksgiving, the goal for the team will be to flip over most of the photography on our current website for the imagery to reflect this past year's event. And so that takes place. So there's a ton that starts to happen now, and it's really intentional. There are specific milestones that we kind of give to the team before Thanksgiving. We'd like to see this before we break for the holidays. As a company, we close down between Christmas and New Year's, and that's a time where nobody should be working. We really respect that time of everyone's, and quite a few of us, just because of the nature of the event world, end up taking off another week at the end of the year. So as a team, we just try to get as much done before sort of December 13th as possible. We come back into January. We typically meet in person as a full team and do a strategy meeting. Again, put our big goals up, set where we're going, set our direction. And then we look to open up registration, crazily enough, typically in March. So we start the cycle all over again. So for us this year, it's Do we have some fun with the industry and have people guess on a theme? Or do we simply just announce our new theme after the first of the year? Do we announce next year's event when we open up Reg? Like, so some of those decisions we haven't figured out yet as a group, but March will be here before we know it. And the work we do now is what sets us up for success in October of next year.
Do you go to ITC Europe?
That's a great question. I have not attended ITC Europe. Our colleagues across the pond are launching an ITC London event in January, which is a different format. It's going to be highly curated, very tight programming, very tight participation. I may travel over for that event. It's going to depend actually on my son's school schedule as to whether or not I'm going to get over for that. And the challenge for me with the Europe event in Amsterdam is usually a timeline issue. So this past year, we do have a few of our team that make it to Singapore for ITC Asia, which is a really strong event. And so we still have to take a look at our calendars for next year. It's hard, Jeff. ITC Vegas is a 12-month event. It doesn't stop.
I believe it.
Yep.
This is a cool episode. Like to hear all the background, the things that happen, especially in your view. Really appreciate you coming on the episode for the first time. And hopefully we can schedule another time to do an industry voice, just really talk about Nichole and and that one we can talk about how your background in the event industry, the media industry is, and go a little bit deeper, not just about ITC, but more about Nichole.
I would
And
love that, Jeff.
I'm
And
looking
thank you
forward
for
to
this
interviewing
opportunity.
you. Well, I am going to say I'm excited to see what you guys roll out and what you guys announce for performance next year. But I definitely think you guys can hit a new bar next year from what I saw this year.
Amazing. And thank you so much for the opportunity. And thank you for giving me the chance to geek out on all things ITC. You think you can tell I do love talking about it. And I'm really quite proud of what we put out and really honored to be at the helm of a brand like this.
Yeah. You guys set the bar and then everyone else had the challenges. So it's gonna be fun to watch.
Thank you.
All right.